everyone. First of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming here. And we just appreciate the support. And it's such an honor to be back at AWE. I was here back in November, I think. And just to see the numbers just, quadruple is just such an encouraging and amazing thing. So nice to see all your faces, and just been one big family reunion. So thank you so much for being here, and hopefully we can impart some cool knowledge and some insight. So thank you. Let me get settled in. Actually, let's get some water for you guys. I see some water right here. A little surprise on the podium. All right, first off, I'm going to do some intros, and these are some of my really, really dear friends, and it was such an honor to be asked to help to moderate and participate in this conversation, so it was really nice to get that call. So I like to do just some intros of these three that are up here with me. First, right here, Dana Ware. So Dana, we've actually been on some panels together, so we kind of follow each other and try to be on each other's different events. But Dana is creative director of The Void. I'm sure a lot of you have probably tried The Void before. She's also a speaker, and actually she was an instructor back at the University of Utah, and she designed the first AR/VR class on game design and narrative. So I thought that was a really amazing thing to learn. And she had told me yesterday that she actually took her classes to the Void as part of the experience. So what an amazing thing, what a great field trip. Jenna Seiden. Jenna is VP of Business Development at Niantic Labs, and she used to be a strategic advisor over at Meta. Head of content acquisition and partnerships over at HTC. I mean, talking about somebody who has really laid the groundwork for a lot of us, in the LBE space and the VR, AR space. Jenna is definitely a visionary person to kind of see all these positions to take and really make an impact for our business. So it's really nice to have her here. Moving along to Rob Taylor, last but not least. And Rob and I just met recently. We've known of each other, but we met recently at the Amusement Expo out in Vegas. And so he's CXO, co-founder of Pendulum Studios. And it was acquired by Pure Imagination Studios back, how many years ago? 2014. Oh, wow. And what's interesting about Rob is that he was also early into the mocap, right? Mocap technology. So we have a similar background in visual effects. I was also visual effects and post-production. So it's kind of strange, not strange, but it's interesting to see how many of us that are in the LBE space, the location-based entertainment space, are from different walks of life. I was more traditional film and television, and sort of had some changes around my life. Got into 3D, stopped doing production for a while, and then VR happened. So yeah, I think we all have different pathways to how we ended up here. Give me 1 second, excuse me. Sorry, a little, Clark Kent action. Just change my glasses. I can't read my paper. So little introductions for the three of them, and for me, for those that don't know, I'm Senior Vice President of U.S. Operations for Hologate. We're a location-based VR company, and I'm also co-vice chair for the Producers Guild, New Media Council. All right, so first thing I want to say, before we go into the topic, which is the evolving role of social experiences in location-based VR and AR, I wanted to just dig a little deeper in what these three are doing and maybe a little background on their companies. So I want to start with Dana, and let's address the elephant in the room. For many of you that know the Void, there's some changes, and now it's kind of Void. I like to call it just 2.0, but can you answer the burning question? As we're walking around the last couple days, everyone who had been introduced to Dana would ask the question, like, what happened? So, if you can you share anything about what happened to the Void? And then, on a positive slant, like, what's the exciting thing? If you can share, like, what's the exciting thing that is happening with this new iteration of the Void?
Sure. So, as you know, we are an LBE VR company. We had several locations all throughout the United States and international locations. COVID hit and shut the door on us almost immediately because we were a revenue-based company. We had all those leases, those IPs that we were working with, and unfortunately, we just didn't have the customers coming through the doors to pay for everything. So we went out of business, and fortunately, an investor came in and purchased the company. So that is Hyper Reality Partners. So we're back and up and coming again, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, Void has always been one of my favorite experiences, and even though I work for technically a competitor, people would come in from out of town into LA, and I'd be like, hey, you want to go try the Void? Gotta do some Star Wars, man? So I'm really excited to see it come back and see what you guys are gonna, what's in store for the next iteration. So congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Jenna, well, as we all know, Niantic just had their Lightship event, and really exciting stuff. In fact, probably one of the more exciting pieces of news that I've seen for the AR, VR business, just because for me, even before I was with Hologate, I've always wanted to create the railroad, help to create the railroad, lay down the foundation work so that content creators like yourselves can, get your amazing work out there. Connect with the public, make money, and I think sometimes we tend not to think about the entire, food chain. And we think about, all the cool stuff that we want to create, but when I ask the question, well, how's it going to get to the public? People start short. My friends will be like, I don't know, somebody will figure it out. Well, I think all of us in this room have to at least be aware of how we're going to make that connection with the public, with our consumers. So when I heard about what Niantic is doing about this whole overlay, and if you can share more about maybe a little bit of that, but also maybe some of the special things that maybe we didn't get from the online event.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I've essentially been in LB my whole life. My father owned an arcade, so I just thought everybody.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called the Paragon, Canton, Connecticut. And also, there was a company called the Connecticut Leather Company. They became Coleco. If anybody remember the Coleco game console,
oh my
father
gosh,
was their attorney. So he came home one day with Cabbage Patch Kids in one arm and a game console. My sister and mother grabbed the dolls. I grabbed this box. So I played Smurf all the time. So I just thought everybody had, stand-up arcade in their basement. That's just what I knew. And so working in the game space is a dream. And going to Niantic has been wonderful because I've been able to create, wonderful products in video games and VR and now AR, where we are focusing on the real world M-word metaverse. And so last week we had our Lightship Summit, and it really highlighted what Niantic does. We are about exploring the world and exercise meaning get off your chair and your couch, go outside, and do it together. And the world becomes your theme park. The world becomes your FEC, if you will. And it's wonderful. So just last week, we gave a further deeper dive into our fancy named ARDK. And we talked specifically about two things. And one was our virtual positioning system, which is pretty cool. VPS exists in other places, but it is primarily a location-based persistent AR opportunity. it allows you to understand not only where you are in the world, but your orientation. And then it allows you to place that virtual object within like 5 centimeters of that fixed location and anchor it so that it's always there. And I can create and leave a task, an object there for Dana and folks to come by and play with. It's really cool. But the other thing that I think you're asking about is sort of something that was understated in our announcement, was something called Campfire. And the question that I get working in biz dev, working with developers and brands is, that's great, I'm going to create an app. Who's going to find it? How do I see it? And Campfire is our attempt to create a social application of the real world metaverse where I'm in a hyper-local environment and I'm playing Ingress and folks are playing Pokemon Go or some other title and I know, Gregg's playing and I see him there. And so now my title gets the eyeballs of the Pokemon Go audience. And we get to announce to each other that we're playing these things, events and community, which is really great. So we are in beta right now. We'll be releasing that soon. But I think that discoverability is really, really important. I mean, you guys have so many opportunities and so many cool developer tools to play with. But how are we going to get eyeballs on your amazing creations? And so Niantic's really thinking about that because the long-term vision is, what's that real world metaverse? What are those reality channels? If you've heard our CEO, John Hankey, talk about it, go back to his talk at AWE in November. It's beautiful. But we want to be able to, I have nothing against VR, came from VR, and helped build the first standalone VR cabinet for Beat Saber. So it's I love the headset. But reality channels, what's that vision going to be? So Campfire is sort of our next step of taking our Lightship apps, giving you a way to discover those stories, and then we don't know what the actual manifestation of these reality channels are, but we want you walking around with a headset someday and exploring the world. So we need to provide some way to discover your amazing storytelling.
Wonderful, thank you. And what is really exciting about that is that I think about all of the enterprise applications that would come to follow, training and first responders, and I think you had mentioned something on our call about.
We're focused on, right now, again, consumer-facing entertainment opportunities. But anyone can use Lightship and any of these tools. But again, a lot of people look at Pokemon Go and what's the 311 Go? What's the 911 Go version of that? To help people find locations and provide safety and all those other wonderful tools. So yeah, anyone who's doing utility or enterprise experiences should play with it too. But again, we still focus on Pikachu.
Thank you. And then Rob. I'd briefly mentioned on how you had this background. You had this more traditional visual effects background, production background, and you're doing motion capture, you're doing 3D modeling, and so how did you make that leap? I mean, we have similar backgrounds. How did you make that leap over into, creating Army of the Dead for Netflix, which I just loved, by the way. I went to that pop-up out in Century City and just loved that experience, and you did the, what is it, Alien?
Alien Descent, dude.
Descent.
I do not know Alien Descent.
Yeah. And what was it, the Descension? Descent?
Alien Descent.
Alien Descent.
Yep.
But yeah. So if you can just talk about, maybe just give briefly a little mention of your path to get to where you were.
That's a convoluted path. The quick version, it all comes down to storytelling. I fancy myself a storyteller kind of more than anything, just a storyteller and a technology geek. And over my entire career, it's been the fusion of art, cinema, and technology for storytelling. And that started off for me in the CG animation world. And as that evolved, I because of my love of technology, I came from Georgia Tech, and in engineering, I kind of fell in love with performance capture and tracking, and that evolved into virtual production, all that stuff. But in fact, my second company was a company called Giant Studios, which was the company that put the motion capture technology at Weta for Lord of the Rings and King Kong and all that.
Avatar.
And Avatar. At the time, we were doing great stuff. It was fun, but I really wanted to be doing the actual storytelling, not just providing the technologies and developing the technologies. My best friend and I, who have been best friends since 11th grade, we started our third company, which was Pendulum Studios, and we ended up doing a lot of cinematics and trailers and things, really servicing for the games industry, and built a big motion capture stage and designed a bunch of virtual production technologies before it was cool, and we patented some facial animation performance technologies, just bringing characters to life, bringing stories to life for the game side. And we were really diving deep into the real-time technologies, and Unreal, Unity, especially Unreal, and that opened up doors to the entertainment, the themed entertainment, location-based entertainment, theme parks. Got to know that world a bit, and a company that was doing amazing stuff in that area, Pure Imagination Studios. We got to know them. They saw that the content that they were producing for the theme park world, that was changing. They needed to understand the real-time engines, and that the real-time engines, there's a whole other wonderful conversation about the real-time engines being the production pipelines of the future, really. Mm-hmm. And they saw that. They wanted us to come in and help them build that pipeline. And that happened literally the exact same time as the Oculus Kickstarter was happening. And that was it for me. And from that point forward, I was in the middle of location-based entertainment, building attractions for theme parks all over the world, and convinced our CEO that I could take this crazy VR tech and do free roaming technologies, and out of that came the Alien Descent.
That's great. And so right now you're basically a consultant, right?
Yep.
For LBE experiences like venue development.
I was at Pure Imagination Studios for about 8 years. Still affiliated with them, still work with them on stuff, but left recently because of a wonderful daughter that I just had, and decided to take some time. But I can't stay away from this stuff. I love it, and so now I'm doing consulting for location-based entertainment, VR, development of attractions and venues all over the world.
And you're on an advisory board, or advisory boards.
Advise multiple LBE XR companies. I think like all of us do pretty much at this point. And
nice.
Companies, one of them is definitely worth mentioning. You may have heard of their XR Immersive Tech, but they recently deployed released a product called Uncontained, which is a VR platform, very interesting VR platform. And they also recently acquired Synthesis, which you may have heard of. They're a software platform for running venues and VR experiences and VRcades and things like that. So it's an interesting company. But the CEO, Ted Bieber, kind of a shout out to him. This was actually going to be his time slot, but he couldn't make it, and we were obviously close. And he asked me to step in and said I could do what I wanted to, and I said I want this group talking about this stuff. So
Nice.
That's how we were.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob.
These are my rock stars.
Thank you. Thank you for just giving us a little background of your companies and your prior experience, which is really, really helpful as far as where we are now. And I want to first quickly, well, not first, but I want to quickly define the term location-based entertainment for maybe a few of those that don't know in this room. But definition that I found, which I think sums it up pretty well, is any form of entertainment in a specific location outside of a person's home. Yeah, it's a real, basic description, right? And that's pretty broad, right? And that would include like family entertainment centers, theme parks, places like Andretti's or Dave & Buster's, and then location-based VR and AR, which is basically the same definition, but it's where you're going to go, have access to VR devices and platforms and experiences, all of what the four of us do. And I wanted to ask the first question, which is, why are social location-based VR and AR experiences appealing for guests? Like, why have we all found that seems to be common denominator with all the companies that we're with. Dana, do you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, so at The Void, one of our fundamental kind of design pillars that we have is to make sure that our experiences are extremely social. Why that's important to us is because we want people to have fun with each other. We want families to be able to come in and have them have co-op play opportunities. We have an experience called Jumanji, and you basically are the characters from Jumanji. You go into Jumanji. Every single character has a different ability, and they have to work together in order to solve the different types of puzzles that they're coming across and all the different goals that they have to achieve. And that's something that's really important to us. We want people to talk. We want people to have fun. We want people to enjoy themselves. It's really hard for adults to kind of get across some of that anxiety you have and just let loose and have fun like you used to play when you were younger. So we try to really give people an opportunity to immerse themselves into these characters, into these worlds, and feel like they are safe enough to just enjoy themselves and play. So we design opportunities for those types of social interactions, and they're very, very important to us. And we also are announcing as well a partnership with XCOM, which is really fundamental for allowing us to do some of the more social interaction, because I have one of our Void models here for us, Brandon. He's going to come up on stage and kind of show you what our old rigs look like. So if you ever went to the Void before, this is what our rigs were. This is Brandon.
Good
Big
spin.
applause.
Hey.
Good spin. Good spin.
And it was just a coincidence that he was here in the audience. It was
I know.
amazing.
Wearing the backpack.
I know. He loves it so much, right? So as you can see, it's pretty cumbersome. It's a heavy rig, and it wasn't always easy for an entire family to go through an experience having to wear this vest. We came up with these technologies because there wasn't anything on the market at the time. And so that backpack right there, it's a computer. It's processing all of this data, and it's not light. It's very heavy. And so as we're coming back up again and developing all of our new experiences again, we partnered with XCOM to be able to use some of the new technologies that they have, the 60 gigahertz streaming abilities and the MMW technology, to be able to change the way that we allow people to access some of this technology. So Brandon's going to come back on stage and show you what the new kind of, look, he's got to get out of the pack first. It's a little bit of,
35 pounds lighter.
yeah. So the idea here is that all of this streaming is happening within all the technology that's on this headset, and we're allowed to really free ourselves from needing all that computing on your backpack. We have vests, haptic vests as well, so some of our experiences will have those and some might not. But look at how much easier this is. To be able to design interactive experiences that allow people to use their bodies in new ways, to also not have to worry about whether or not you have back issues, perhaps. These are access points that really enable us to be able to make sure that everyone's being included in these experiences, and it's something that we're really excited about. We also have a demo here at the conference, and so if you're interested, there is a booth, an XCOM booth here.
Well done.
And please go ahead and try it. Thanks, Brandon.
That's great. Perfect. Same question to you, Jenna. Basically, it seems like the whole infrastructure is built on the social experience. So,
I mean, I don't have a demo. I don't have any clue. But you guys all have the magic devices in your pocket that we use.
I'll be your demo.
listen, not to get academic, we're social creatures, right? And throughout history, people gather together. People throughout the ages go to movies. They want to be outside. They want to do things. And you know, the way that we focus on our storytelling is to get you outside and to do things together. So, you know, whether it's Niantic doing that through Pokemon Go and raids, or coming up with other ways to, you know, do co-op together, that's in our DNA. You know, I love playing single-player campaigns because I played a little too much Call of Duty and would get yelled at by decades younger than me. And yeah, so yeah, I'm the, you know, outlier. But people want to do things together. They want to share. They want to boast about what they do, right? They want to, you know, level up and gamify and show off and get those badges. I mean, we build that into our narrative. We build that into our games. So that's just natural to what we do at Niantic. But again, it's really about going into your neighborhood, and whether it is a game, whether it is a murder mystery, whether it is a scavenger hunt or a travel guide. You know, we want people to go and look at those locations and see them through different lenses and come together and discuss them. I mean, just imagine telling the story over and over again from one location. Just so rich with story. I'm also speaking as an advisor as well. I work with a company called Felix and Paul. If you're not familiar with them, they are an amazing, immersive, interactive studio based in Montreal. They have come up with a beautiful and approachable experience, and this is all about decreasing the friction. Niantic does that by just using your phone. Well, Felix and Paul is another extreme example on the spectrum. They have a program called the Infinite, and you are in a Oculus Quest headset with 100 of your closest friends, and it's 12,000 square feet. It might be the largest LBE VR experience to date. It's been sold out in Montreal, Houston, Tacoma, Seattle, and it's coming to San Francisco as well. But you are able to be among others in the International Space Station and interact together and see this beautiful camera footage. They have cameras inside the ISS and the outside of the ISS. And what we've seen with people coming into this experience, you come in as a group and you can note that you are part of this group together, and you see each other and you interact together. We've seen couples come in and hold hands and interact and trigger objects in the device, in the experience, itself. And it's all ages, it's beautiful, it's approachable. So for me, the social experience is decreasing the friction, whether it's through the hardware, through the narrative, through the story, through the genre. But again, Niantic, it's who we are, and that's what we're optimizing. A company like Felix and Paul, I'm pointing to Paul Raphael, who's sitting in the audience, I believe. I can't see a thing. You know, it's about bringing these stories. So you're not getting up to the ISS anytime soon unless you can buy a ticket with someone. But we want to bring that down here and share those beautiful, beautiful stories and environments and capture that, and share it with everybody.
I think too, also one of the best things about that is that, or best, it's such a great example of how location-based entertainment, out-of-home entertainment now it's really blending with what the museum side, the educational, edutainment side of things, and you know, the museum industry it's going through a very, very difficult, you can't say period, it's falling away. And you know, what we're doing on the entertainment side is 100% applicable to the museum side. And I mean, this is an ideal example.
Well, you look at, I mean, if you guys are familiar with the arcade industry, I mean, respectfully, it's a very traditional industry, right? They're used to buying an arcade cabinet one time and then just monetizing it. They don't do complicated business models, things like that. You look at museums, they've got so many stakeholders and decision makers. It's not just the curators, it's the board, and they're used to getting exhibits just in a bow, and they unwrap it and they show it. And they still want people walking through the brick and mortar doors. We all think with XR, you know, great, let's bring those exhibitions into the headset. They don't want that. They still want to bring people in, get them through the gift shop, right? Buy the things. Right. I mean, that's how they think. So we still need to meet people where they are. But if we can meet them where they are and start to introduce them to the infinite, and then they're going to be even more open-minded when people go, wait a minute, I had such a great time. I didn't know that was educational. That was entertainment. Oh, what's this void thing? Let's go over here and do Jumanji or do something with Avengers or something really cool. So I think what we need to do is start to reach people where they are still, because we think our tools and stuff are so cool, but the audience we're reaching, they're leaning forward in their chairs. They're not falling off them. So you got to really think about where they are, especially with LBE stuff. Because again, putting on those headsets, it's intimidating. So you got to make it be invisible as much as you can.
Absolutely, like really, and getting the families together so that when they're, I mean, why do you leave your home to go do any of this stuff, whether it's edutainment, education, museum, or straight up entertainment? It's because it's something you can't do at home. So we want to bring something to you and to that experience that is a whole other level of immersion, but at the same time, we want to make sure that you can do that with your family and friends. I mean, why would you leave the house and not be able to do that?
Yeah, meet new friends and all that jazz. So.
Right, right.
People
So-
are, they're starting to go to theme parks. Like, people aren't afraid to get out and do these things anymore,
Yeah.
like they were maybe a year ago. And a lot of funding is going into these entertainment experiences because people are frankly, they're sick of being in their houses. They want to go outside. They want to have fun with their friends. They want to be able to share these experiences together and take home those memories. And some of the things that we do at the Void too, like we integrate sensory effects. You're not going to get that at home with a headset. Some of the
You don't have a wind machine at home?
yeah,
I do.
a scent machine.
Spritzers.
Yeah.
Spray yourself.
Oh.
Yeah.
Transducers under your floor.
He does.
I could shake your chair for you. Yeah. But we don't own these types of devices at our houses. And so it's just a whole different type of experience that you can get by coming out and trying one of these LBE experiences.
Right. In my experience, when people were first talking about VR, they're saying, Gregg, imagine if we're sitting in a theater by ourselves with the headset on, and I'm going, okay, so you're by yourself, right? And right away, I just stopped them right there. I said, I don't want to sit by myself. I want to think about if I can see other people in the space. And so in my mind, I was thinking, I want the experience to be multiplayer for one. Two, when I was having events with VR Festival and Dreamland, that we started experimenting with monitors. And people that would walk by, they would say, oh, wait a minute. So that scary headset is translating into what we're seeing on the monitor, and I'm seeing the correlation. Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. And I see that I'm not going to be by myself. I'm actually interacting with 3 other people or more than that. And the other thing that we thought about is really good communication software. With Hologate, we teamed up with TeamSpeak, which was kind of the gamers' communication tool. And we knew that, just like the rest of us, or all of you, is that we wanted to create experiences where, it's very interactive. And in Jumanji, if each of them have different skills, have different powers, but we don't know what their powers are yet until the story develops. I went through your Void experience, is that now they have to really communicate and talk. So, okay, so wait, what can you do? Or, oh, wait a minute, I have strength, so don't lift that rock, or don't go up against the these creatures that you have to fight and things like that. So it was
Exactly.
So you really had to think of it more than just a game. You had to think about, wait a minute, the game is almost secondary. We had to think about what are all the challenges that we're being faced with VR. Like what is the the psychology behind the challenge? And I was one of the early adopters in 3D when that had come around in the 2000s, and it had its own challenges. Especially of it had the stench of the 1950s on it, right? It gives me headaches. It's gonna give me eye strain. The thing with VR, the challenges was, okay, there is no equivalent of the television or the movie theater. So we even had to think about that, of just coming out with how do people get access to it. So there's been a lot of what we've learned just being in VR and AR so early that, it's been a long road, but it's great to see people, again, all these people that we're seeing at AWE in the same boat. We're all kind of figuring it out together, sharing ideas with each other, even if we're competitors, because tide rises all boats. So I think it's really encouraging to see how far we've come, and that we survived during the worst of COVID, and we're hopefully going to take it to the next level, especially with what Niantic is doing, and
all of us together.
And it's also an issue of the appeal to the businesses, to the operators as well, because as we're integrating more people into the experiences, when you talk about LBE, the business of LBE, it's all about throughput. And how many people can you get in per square foot, and push through the experience, which is somewhat antithetical to what we want to do in telling a story. We want them to be there as long as possible. So you better have multiple people, otherwise you are going to go broke as an operator. And the difficulty inherent in that is that the technologies make that very difficult. So as the technologies that we're developing and gluing together from other people are allowing that, we're increasing the number of people and increasing the number of the complexity of the experiences and length, everything.
It's interesting you bring up, the operators, and again, it's about throughput, and so it's really about, the wish fulfillment, getting them through, making them want to come back, and like the average person goes to an FEC like maybe once or twice a year, right? So you have to think about that. But for us, I just thought of this, we're mapping these cities that are VPS enabled, and we're activating these locations. The city of Tokyo is literally scanning all of their major public spaces. Imagine that. So think of a city as the FEC, as the business owner, and all the things that they can do to bring tourists in, or to just, I don't even know where it's going, but I just had this conversation an hour ago, and it's just really interesting about thinking about those as your customer, or those as your FEC walls and stuff like that.
Well, that's fascinating too, because you start thinking about the replayability of that, right? Because if I'm going to be accessing the same walk path every single day, it better be interesting.
Well then, yeah, we're thinking about those reality channels. So if I'm walking the same path to work every day, well today the AI knows that I'm interested and I have to go buy something for my dog, so I'm going to trigger, things. It's like when you buy a car, right? You see that car everywhere. So it's going to have that in my path, and things are going to pop up. And then maybe tomorrow I'm actually just in a meditative mood, right? And I just want to go to some Zen parks in the place, and that's what pops up. But it's the same walk every day, but different things pop up. It's pretty, or I want to see the historical version of my city. I'd love to know the history of my city.
So cool.
Just repurposing.
Yeah.
It's really, yeah.
It's amazing what it's going to be fun, because like in our three worlds, we're creating the experiences. In what's going on in Niantic right now, it's everybody's the creator. I mean,
Well, we can create things and then drive people indoors to you guys.
Yeah, 100%.
It's amazing. Dana, you've told me in the past about how that social aspect, I mean, you've touched upon it a little bit, but that social aspect has helped you form the narrative, form what the experience is going to be, and how can you communicate that with your staff, in figuring out, okay, guys, it's social, and then let's start with the story, or can you tell us a little bit about how you would approach an experience, a brand new experience?
Yeah, sometimes, you look at the IP and what does that IP afford you,
Right.
as far as like its social interactions within it. And so to go off of Jumanji as another example from that experience is, in one section of Jumanji, you actually have a lion. And I love using this example because it's very social. You have this lion, and there's one character who can speak to animals. And that character can hear the lion asking, like, give me a good reason why I shouldn't eat you. And it's kind of funny to see how this social kind of play happens between the different people in the party, where they start to kind of come up with answers for what they're going to tell this lion to get out of this situation, because they don't want to get eaten. Or sometimes they'll say, eat her, and they'll push their friend to the front. And since it's the only one player that can hear the animals speaking, everyone else just hears a growl or a roar. It becomes this really fun dynamic of social dynamic between these players to see how they're gonna respond.
Or
to this
resentment,
NPC.
right?
Yeah, or they come out and they're like, why did you do that? I hate lions. Like, it's kind of a fun opportunity to see these magical moments of how some of that social economics of gameplay ends up working out. So
Great.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
That's
we
very
were
cool.
talking the other day about the like an Alien and some of your experiences, where you could see what the relationships are like when
Yeah.
we're behind the scenes watching the players. We don't watch you, I swear, we don't watch you. We definitely
swear.
don't film it. But you could see the relationships between. You could see like, that couple, they have issues. I would love see a guy with his son, and you could totally tell the guy that brought his son there to see something amazing versus the guy that brought his son as justification so he could go. Totally, and you could see all this.
fascinating.
It was really, really fun.
Pretty cool.
The relationships between the people.
I love it.
We've had marriages come out of Pokemon Go and people who've met out
Really?
during. Oh my God, yes.
That's
We've all heard of like
Oh,
the
no
VR.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the community they meet and they. Yeah.
That's
we got a
cool.
lot of Pigo marriages. Yeah.
You go, man.
I need to start playing more. Yeah. Picking and bloom. I'm just planting flowers. That's
I know, right?
You know what? At this time, we're going to open it up for a little Q&A. So if there are any of you that have some questions for any of the speakers, come up, kind of, and up to the mic. Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for the panel, Ed Callaway from AMD.
Hey.
And 5 or 6 years ago, I was working a lot in LA with some early location-based VR companies. And we ran into really classic problems. And Rob, one of the things you brought up was throughput. And it was brutal because you could go to Disneyland, put on the 3D glasses, 300 people walk in, 300 people walk out. In VR, you had somebody to put on your headset, and somebody had to stand beside you and scream instructions through, behind your headphones. What's been done to improve throughput? Because it was a killer.
Oh boy, a lot. There's a lot, and a lot of it is us having to invent tools and products that haven't been created yet. So that we had to, and a lot of that stuff. There's now companies developing different things that are speeding things up. Everything from cleaning, like Cleanbox, that are facilitating that. But there's, what you saw. That's one of the biggest examples.
Yeah,
is
the
getting
giant
people-
backpacks, and then Polygate, you guys were duct taping full-size computers to scaffolding. Hopefully that got better.
Duct taping. Yeah.
It was
I don't know about the duct
it was
tape.
just standard
Duct taping our
PCs,
stuff.
duct taped to scaffolding on some of the early stuff. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm really glad to see the RF is working, and it's
Well, that's one of the pain points, right? Like having to load somebody in and out of that rig, it's a pain point. And so it eliminates that barrier of entry for somebody, as well as, frankly, what you described just sounds like bad design. Sorry to say it, but
Well, it was
if
early
they're having
times
to
for
tell
everybody,
people like behind their ear how to perform
But you
an
got,
action.
remember,
to,
a lot of these places, you have hourly workers, right?
You do,
Dave
you
and
do.
Buster's has a
Yeah.
wonderful experience in VR studios. Some of you have done it, and they repurposed with Men in Black. But you've got 2 attendants, and it takes up a lot of square footage. You want to make sure you're optimizing all seats at all times and, filling the beds, if you will. And we developed the, standalone VR autonomous headset for Beat Saber. It took a very small footprint, got people through fast, didn't need anybody there, dropped down, clean itself, had a great
Amazing.
screen that people could see what was going
Amazing.
on. I wanted to do this.
Yep.
Done and out. So but they were VR Arsenal made that constantly iterating.
Yeah.
How do kids hold the headset? Can they reach? What's the security system for the controllers? Where does it go? So all these little pain points of the full suit, this or that. But yeah, throughputs. That's what the business owners care about. So and
That
safety.
unit's-
Operating.
the VR Arsenal unit, that thing's a beast. Like it can take a beating. So it went through many iterations to make sure
Even
that
from
it
the
was designed correctly.
shipping it. We would ship it in unconventional, awkward-sized boxes and pay extra shipping, and then we figured out how to go into
Water cooling the gun for a while too.
Oh my gosh.
Did we do that?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh, no,
we didn't have a gun. We just had guns.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
for
just-
the AVP.
Oh, yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Anyway. yeah.
And duct
But
tape.
yeah, no, and duct tape. Lots of duct tape. Windex duct tape.
And then also just it's the learnings that we take away from each of the experiences. We learn better ways. One of the things that the operations process. So in Alien, what I did is I had people go into the room, and it's all sort of part of the experience and part of the storytelling, and they're getting suited up while the previous
Right.
group is
Little
coming
staging
out
area.
to a
Yeah.
separate room.
Yeah.
So you've got people in the experience, you've got people loading up, you've got people getting the pre-show, you've got people coming out all at the same time. You've got people taking photos of themselves
So they're
with the
in
scoreboard.
right away.
Yeah.
So you just
yeah.
keep it flowing.
Synchronized.
Yeah, the Infinite has 100 people at a time, but it supports up to 150 per 45 minutes, so we
Wow.
phase people through. So
And then another thing, Ed, real quick, is that some of the early experiences that I had been in, where the attendants had to tell me what to do next because it wasn't designed in an intuitive manner.
Yeah.
That you'd be in a room and it almost felt like an escape room. We'd be like, okay, what do we do
Now what?
next? Grab the lever. I'm like, oh,
Here's
okay.
the
And then
ball.
the door would open.
Yeah.
But you know, that's something that we had all learned. And even with Hologate, we started out having games designed 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and that setting is still there if FECs want to use that. But we realized 5 minutes was the sweet spot for us, you know, and it was enough. And even at 8 minutes or 10 minutes, I started feeling like, okay, it feels a little repetitive, especially in a tower defense game. But 5 minutes, it would be like, even for myself, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I got to beat that score. I want to beat my friends, you know, and get on the, you know, get on the Hall of Fame, you know, leaderboard. And then, so that's something that I think we just learn over time.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank
This
you,
has all
Ed.
been very good news.
Oh, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Oh, drop something.
Yeah.
You like mask?
Always.
All right, so what's your name?
Hi, Russell.
Hey, Russell.
Yeah, so I respect. I think what you do is awesome, really cool stuff.
Thanks.
So it's kind of a super left field question, but do you guys think like robotics, like what could robotics do in the space, if anything? And yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
I love
Who wants to take that question?
I love that question.
Like mechatronics?
Yeah. I mean, if I could have a robot that was handing a prop and was always calibrated into the same exact spot every single time instead of
Or
needing
reactive.
or
moving
reactive.
around, yeah.
I mean, that's a really interesting use case scenario of being able to integrate some of those technologies that can streamline some of the pain points that we have in our experiences. So yeah, there's tons of applications for that.
Absolutely, and one of the difficulties that we have, especially, is that we have a product, our stage, and it has walls or whatever, because we want you to be able to reach out and touch those walls. Well, the next experience has to conform to that same thing, unless the product can be morphed in some way. Well, robotics have allowed me to have doors open, and boom, I've got a different maze all of a sudden. I mean, there's all kinds of uses for robotics, and we hire a lot of mechatronics people to develop that stuff.
Amazing. Thank you, Russell.
Good question.
And we have, we've run out of time, but can we take a 360 shot before you guys take off? All right, ready? Okay, on 3. Come on. All right, ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.